Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, all of you are having a good Saturday wherever we are around the world. And welcome back to some breaking news. Of course, Ryan Gravenberch has signed a brand new contract for Liverpool. It will be up till 2032. And he is on a fair old wage now. But how are we, chat? Hopefully, all of you are good and well. And yeah, it is a bit of a shock breaking news. I don't think anybody expected it. In the near future, because again, obviously, we've heard that there's been contract talks with certain players, that probably since like October time, or around there. But now, of course, it looks like Liverpool are, fully pushing and fully activating the go ahead in terms of getting the players that they want re-signed. And of course, Ryan Gravenberch, it looks like to be the first, hopefully, of many that Liverpool are going to try and re-sign to brand new contracts. But let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. It's very exciting news as well. It's very happy news, really, in terms of Liverpool getting the best players down to new contracts. Look, I think we can all admit that Liverpool's players haven't been great this season, but in a long sense. And again, when you look at Ryan Gravenberch, what he did last season, what he's done a part this season as well, he's a very vital part of Liverpool's midfield. And I think plenty of people over the last 2 years has said that Ryan Gravenberch is in Liverpool's best midfield. And look, he's done amazingly. Obviously shifting from pretty much what was it, an attacking 8 into our 6 realistically. And look, he spoke about it. We'll get into what he has said as well. But again, I think it's a great move that we are actually getting people re-signed, instead of, again, we're talking maybe in a couple of years' time when we're talking about yet again them signing, all their contracts pretty much running down, and then we're talking about them potentially leaving the club, instead of maybe in the future Liverpool might go, maybe it might be a bit of a change, but still we've got the contract there to kind of work upon anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Obviously, big up Cal as well, saying good news as well. It's great news, really, that Grav has re-signed for Liverpool, and as well, again, it looks like it's not only him that the Reds are working on. Again, we'll get into the news of things anyway in due course. But again, what Ryan Gravenberch has had to say, as you guys can see, but there, obviously, Ryan Gravenberch signs new long-term contract with Liverpool, as I can read it, as you guys can see it as well. As it says, Ryan Gravenberch has today signed a new long-term contract with Liverpool FC. The midfielder put pen to paper on renewed terms with the Reds at the AXA Training Ground, or AXA Training Centre, ensuring he will extend his 3-year spell with the club into the coming seasons. He said, I feel really, really good. Gravenberch told Liverpool.com, I'm really proud to extend my contract at such a big club. So I'm really happy that I can stay for many more years. I felt directly the trust from the club, also the manager, the direction for me was easy to make for my family, and also happy here. We are now here almost 3 years, so I know everything already. I'm happy that I'm here. And obviously, it goes on to say, obviously, since signing from Bayern Munich in September 2023, Gravenberch has firmly established himself as a fundamental part of Arne Slot's side. The 23-year-old has made 123 appearances to date, scoring 8 goals and helping Liverpool to a Carabao Cup in the 2024 season, and of course last season's Premier League title as well. As it does say, he continued, for short term, my aim is to end the season as good as possible, and for the long term to win as many trophies here at Liverpool. So look, I think it's a good move, like I said, in terms of Liverpool re-signing players. You guys can obviously go on Liverpool.com and obviously go and look at the everything else that Ryan Gravenberch has said. When we talk about details, and when we're talking about, again, the extent of Liverpool re-signing him, why they've ended up doing it as well. Again, this was from Paul Ghost saying it at 23, Anfield hierarchies believe Ryan Gravenberch's best years are yet I think that's misspelled, are to come, more to come. And the club confirmed the agreement on Saturday afternoon after talks with Gravenberch's team agency progressing smoothly, which again is a great thing. But I've already seen on Twitter, and as you normally do with contracts and other things around deals and realistically how it ends up working, people already talking about money, and talking about how much he's on a week, which again, looking at it, and I've got the numbers in front of me. So Ryan Gravenberch's agent Jose Rodriguez has negotiated a total salary of over 100 million euros. This is spread over the next 6 years. But again, various performance-related bonuses could still be added upon it. So as a base salary, we're talking about Ryan Gravenberch having 280 grand a week. Now, people can like that, they can hate it. I think, look, when we're talking about Liverpool being competitive, like Liverpool are already top of the wage bill, in the Premier League, and of course that's had its own conversations. I think obviously the Athletic put a report about it, and through Liverpool's finances and how Liverpool have done, over the last 12 months. And I think plenty of people have had different conversations around Liverpool's wage structure and how it's moving around. But realistically, this is the new Liverpool, where Liverpool are spending the majority of the money on wages, because yes, they've done it with Mo Salah, yes, they've done it with Virgil van Dijk, but now they're starting to do it with the key players or the root players that they think will be here for the very long-term future of Liverpool Football Club, which, look, I'm all for that. We've said that about being competitive in that stake for years and years, but I know people will whinge and complain about, like, a player earning around 280 grand a week. Look, it's not our money. Let's not lie around it. But again, if the club is showing ambition in terms of that sense, again, I don't think you can really complain about that either, in my opinion. But again, people will have their own conversation, their own theories around it, as they normally do, which, look, at the end of the day, you can't please everyone in the football world anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts on Ryan Gravenberch being on 280 grand a week as well, because people may again agree, they may disagree with that thought process as well. But Carl says, hopefully he finds last season's level now he's signed it as well. I think, and I think Ryan Gravenberch was speaking in the Liverpool interview, and he was talking about the six and like how he's enjoyed it and how he's developed a bit more. Obviously this season it's changed because Liverpool have changed the way we've played, and I think Arne Slot's really changed his position more than anybody else's. But long term, I don't see him as our six. I think that's something for the future as well. That, again, I don't want to see Ryan Gravenberch be our six. I think the Wolves game, I actually think last night proved that. Where again he's a bit more further forward. He's not really playing as deep. I think personally he's better as an 8. And I've said that for a long time, but again, if he's alongside maybe a more defensive-minded player, or again, something like that, where again he's got more of a double pivot, where he can be a bit more, a bit less leg room then for Ryan Gravenberch. For me, I think he could absolutely thrive for Liverpool in the near future. And look, I think that's the long-term plan for him, in my opinion, at least anyway. Big up Lee as well. Hopefully doing well, mate. Hopefully you are having a great Saturday as well. But what else we got? I'd like to see Belieber, Gravenberch and Wirtz next season, maybe as well. Yeah, like I think for me, the three, I think for me at the minute that are above him in terms of the midfielders I'd want, or potentially Liverpool are looking at, obviously Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton. I think Liverpool are going to go big for Adam Wharton in the summer if we get Champions League, and that's an if, because again we're still talking about whether Liverpool could get Champions League football, and that's not a good thing at the minute. But I think Liverpool's plan is to obviously reinforce the midfield and try and add legs to that position, because at the minute Liverpool have no physicality in the midfield at the minute. But I also look at it and go, well, the players for me would be Wharton, Anderson. I personally would like Liverpool to take a look at Matthias Fernandez as well. West Ham, I think he's a really good player that is waiting for a big move, really, or whether or not Liverpool are going to be looking at him, I'm not too sure. But again, Belieber, I wouldn't mind Belieber, but I think the last 12 months his stock has massively gone down because of other things that have happened. Again, Brighton not playing him as well, him not playing so great either. But again, I wouldn't be too mad about it if Liverpool did go in that direction. Yeah, that would be a good midfield. I'm not going to lie, Cal. Honestly, 280 is way over the line. Yeah, for some people, it will be, and look, I know people will do the whole maths around it. I think, again, when we talk about, because look, don't get me wrong, I do think Mo Salah will be leaving in the summer. And look, that's 400 grand off the week, 400 grand gone a week in terms of the books. But I'm not too sure on that, but it's just a gut feeling. I think Mo will leave in the summer. And I think Liverpool will replace him, if I can get my words out, with Yan Diamonde. I think that's the plan. But I also look at it and go, I could see Mo staying. And with that being added upon it, again, I wonder if we wasn't to get Champions League football, how much of an impact that would have on, maybe re-signing Dom or re-signing Maka as well. Because, look, we'll talk, I want to talk a little bit more objectively around the whole situation. Because, again, Ryan Gravenberch is the first step, I think, for Liverpool in terms of getting Dom re-signed. And other players as well that we'll talk about in a moment anyway. But Lee says, stepping back and being objective, I find paying someone over £1 million a month is outrageous, starving kids and all that. But that is, the way it is. Yeah, exactly. Like, I 100% agree with it. And that's the way football is, isn't it? As well. Like, if anybody else enjoys, like other sports like NFL, for example, and other things, and I get players put their bodies on the line, and again, they earn their money to an extent of it, really. But when you take the actual money sense into it, it's ridiculous, isn't it? How money driven everything is. But again, that's just the way life's gone over the last 30 odd years. Again, money's going up and up and up and up, really. But Anderson. Yeah, no, Anderson would be a choice for me, for Liverpool anyway. But obviously, when we talk about the notes and when we talk about other things that have been said around the Ryan Gravenberch situation, and look, when I talked about him being the one step, and being potentially, the stepping stone for other players to be re-signed. The likes of Paul Joyce and, Paul Gorse and all the other Liverpool journalists have come out and said that Liverpool are currently in contract talks with the likes of Ibrahim Konate and Dominic Szoboszlai. Alexis McAllister as well is also a name being spoken about in terms of contracts. There's more progression on Dom, I think, and Maka. I think Ibu is a bit different because, again, Liverpool have not realistically hit a breakthrough as far as we know as of yet in terms of Ibu's contract. The big one, I think, for me, that hasn't been mentioned in the contract talks and the contract negotiations is Curtis Jones. I think Curtis Jones, we talked about, obviously, months ago, talking about back in January when the whole Inter Milan deal collapsed on deadline day. I think it's more realistic than ever that Curtis Jones might be leaving Liverpool in the summer. Again, if Liverpool were to get an Elliot Anderson or or an Adam Wharton, again, Curtis Jones in terms of PSR is a big thing for Liverpool because, again, Liverpool would make pure profit off of Curtis Jones no matter how much they sold him for. And I think he is in the last 2 years of his contract. I could be wrong with that. again, I think so. I think he's in the last 2 years of his contract in the summer. So again, it's realistically for Liverpool, it's either sign him up to a brand new contract or sell him. And I think the way things are going and the way that things are being replayed around the media, certainly around Liverpool journals, where again we're not talking so much about Curtis Jones getting a new contract for Liverpool. I think he'll end up leaving. In my opinion, do I want Curtis Jones to go? No, because I think Curtis Jones is a decent squad option, and again should be given more opportunity in the first team. I think he's done better than what Macca's done at times this season, and unfairly being dropped, in my opinion. But still, I think Liverpool might be looking to cash in Curtis Jones in the summer, which would be a bit of a shame because I think, look, it's a shame for both Curtis and Liverpool because I think Curtis hasn't really, he hasn't kicked on as he hasn't been, the number one name in Liverpool's midfield, like I think many people thought. But like again, you go back and watch interviews of like Steven Gerrard talking about him in developmental and when he was playing for under 21s and when Steven Gerrard was the under 21 manager. That is something that again he's not really progressed more upon. And again, Jurgen was a huge fan of Curtis as well. But for some reason, Arne Slot doesn't trust him as much in terms of, again, playing more games. Because I think when we had that rough period and Curtis Jones was brought into the team, I think we looked more balanced in the midfield. But for some reason, again, we're not doing that as much now. Which, again, if you was to say for anyone, who would you potentially rather let go? Would you rather let Macca or Curtis Jones go? I wonder what the reaction would be towards that. For Liverpool's sake, I think, again, when we talk about PSR and talking about how much clearance you'd want off of it, I think they'd rather sell Curtis Jones because, again, Curtis would be just pure profit. So, again, I'm not too sure where the club really stand on that as of right now anyway. Because I'd rather McAllister go for me. Macca is too slow. Well, I think he's definitely on the decline, McAllister. I think if you look at his last 3 seasons, last year I said to you guys, I thought he was one of the best midfielders in Europe. But when you actually take a look at the stats and take a look at the statistics over the last, I think 3 or 4 years, I can't remember what the graph showed, but his decline was, it was evident, similar to, Fabinho back in the day, where again Fab, it was a subtle decline and then had the huge fell off because his legs went, and that was the unfortunate bit with Fabinho, which again, absolutely love Fabinho, would love prime Fabinho in this Liverpool team. Liverpool would need a number, an out and out number 6. Then in that case, they would again put Fabinho in there. You'd be sorted for the next 5+ years if you had a prime Fabinho in your team at the minute. But look, obviously getting back to Ryan Gravenberch, great news for him getting a brand new contract as well. I'm just going to quickly see if I've missed anything on him getting a new contract. But yeah, no, it's great news. And the fact that, again, I think we don't necessarily realize how cheap we got him for. The fact we got him for £34 million from Bayern. And again, they messed up on him. And look, I wonder whether or not if, the current Bayern regime was in, whether or not Liverpool would have got him, in terms of got Ryan Gravenberch in that summer when we got, obviously, Macca and Dom. But the business that we did in that summer, again, you now look back at it and go, it possibly was a 10 out of 10 window, even though at the time, I think a lot of us was like a bit frustrated because, again, we were being linked with Caicedo and being linked with other players. I think even Declan Rice we got linked with for a short period of time. Obviously, it was the summer when Jude Bellingham was meant to join Liverpool, and we ended up rejecting him, or he rejected us, or however way you want to look at it. But missing out on Jude Bellingham was probably the best thing Liverpool could have done, because we ended up getting a title-winning midfield, when you look at it in that sense as well. So, look, at the end of the day, a great move for Liverpool to get him re-signed. Hopefully, as well, it is the first of many. When we talk about, again, like I mentioned, Dom, Ibu, Macca as well to an extent. Again, I think, in my opinion, I would think Macca might end up leaving Liverpool as well. I'm not too sure. But never got why we embarrassed ourselves for Caicedo. What was his name? Jurgen's best mate that was a sporting director for a summer. That was just a wild summer, wasn't it? Where Liverpool just did things for the fun of it, didn't we? We didn't care in that summer window. We were like, got a release clause? Sound, we'll pay it. Need any type of negotiation? Sound, we'll do it. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Carl. But Jörg Schmachter. Thank you, chat. Look, Jörg Schmachter, what a guy. Where is he right now? Does anybody know where Jörg Schmachter is? Maybe you could teach Richard Hughes a job or two at the minute. But no, all kidding aside, that summer, when you look at it now, was probably a 10 out of 10 window. Again, Endo, Grav, Dom, Maka. Probably should have signed a centre back as well back then, but look, Liverpool. I feel like we go on a drought a little bit on certain positions. Like 1 minute we sign midfielders, or one summer we sign midfielders, then it'll take us 2, 3, maybe even four summer windows to then go on and sign another midfielder. Defenders is the same. Like since signing Ibu back in 2021. Liverpool have only signed Giovanni Leone and I think Jeremy Jacquet, and that's it. And obviously them two deals have happened in the last 6 months or the last year. So look, it's a drought where Liverpool don't sign many players in that position, which is a problem for long term anyway. Probs on the beach somewhere, yeah, probably drinking a few margaritas with Jurgen. Hopefully anyway. But look, I think we'll leave it there for today, chat. Again, obviously a bit of a breaking news episode for you guys in terms of, again, talking about Ryan Gravenberch. Obviously, if anybody's just tuning in, of course, the big breaking news is that Ryan Gravenberch has signed a brand new contract with Liverpool. It is until June 2032, and he'll be earning around 280 grand a week. That's without bonuses that we know of, but again, the bonuses are performance based. So again, that's probably if Liverpool win the Champions League, win the Premier League, similar to what it was when Liverpool did win the Premier League, where again the wage budget went up. Of course, it's obviously mainly due to Liverpool winning the Champions League, winning the Premier League. Sorry. So again, in terms of good news, that Liverpool has re-signed Ryan Gravenberch, and hopefully it is the start of a few as well, like I've mentioned in today's show anyway. But tomorrow I might do a show tomorrow. We might talk about, or it might be a pre-record. We might talk a bit more about Jan Diamonde, because he's ended up scoring again today for Leipzig. And look, I think Liverpool should be all over him in the summer. Again, the price that we're talking about in terms of I think Leipzig have talked about 80 million euros. I don't think Liverpool are going to pay anywhere near that for him, or should, because when you look at the sample size, it's not really enough. But I think the player that is there in Jan Diamonde, I think he's one hell of a player that Liverpool should be looking for, and that Liverpool miss, because again, when we talk about Rio Ngamoa, he, for me, last night he was electric, and he was unreal last night. But yeah, that for me is the one Liverpool should be going for. Carl says, if Enrique leaves PSG, go and buy Kvaratskhelia. Well, Liverpool should have got him, shouldn't they, from Napoli? What was it, last January? Should have happened, and we didn't do it. But look, at the end of the day, long may Rio Ngamoa stay left wing for Liverpool. And long may the Liverpool's midfield be boss as well. With Ryan Gravenberch as well anyway. But look, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Saturdays anyway. But if you're new around here, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys all in the next episode. But I've been Connor from the Cup Council. I'll see you guys a bit later on. Ta-ra.